And we are live. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much, so much for joining us today. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. Let us borrow just a quick up to 30 minutes of your time. I'm Michelle Rhodes and excited to bring our Friday noontime live stream to you all, where we're talking about being influential in healthcare. And so I'll introduce myself in a moment, but I want to make sure I have an opportunity to allow our guests to just say hello and any welcoming words. So thank you, Dr. Charryse, for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hello to all the listeners for sure. Pull up. This is going to be a good conversation. And
Hashtag pull up.
yes, hashtag pull up. But I am doing well.
I know how you love the statements, so I'm just waiting to catch mine today.
Yes, something will come. It will come.
It will
Yes.
come. So welcome everybody. Come on in the room. We just are getting warmed up. Excited to be here. I'm always like full of smiles during this time because this is our chance to just share with the world what we are doing in healthcare and of course our guests what they are doing in the world to help support health and wellness as well as Color Wellness Media. So super quick, I'm the founder of the Color Wellness Media, where we are all about health equity through health education. So our goal and our mission is to bring health and wellness to those communities that need it the most right into their hands. And that's through our magazine, that's through our podcast, and that is through our video. So welcome everybody, come on up. So I'm going to read our bio of Dr. Charryse and then just, hey, let's get into it today, where we'll be talking about the mental health and wellness for I'm gonna say for people of color, but this is for everyone, so I do want to say that. But yeah, let's get started. So Dr. Charryse Johnson, the founder of, is it Jade Integrative?
Jade Integrative. Yeah.
Awesome counseling and wellness. It was created out of a desire to offer individuals and families comprehensive and collaborative support and care. Research affirms the unique balance between mind, body, and spirit. Love that. Is to the okay, so I messed up a little bit there. Thus, to address one without the other is managing symptoms versus improving well-being. So, holistic care. As a client, she has the ability to explore the unique intersection between your past and present while designing a more accurate and authentic picture of what you want for the future. So I'm excited to dig into that today, Dr. Charryse Johnson. Welcome to the Color Wellness TV.
Yes. Thank you for having me so much.
You're welcome. Tell us a little bit more about yourself. I feel like there's so much more behind that. I just gave us the first.
Yeah, basically, in line what you said, I started a therapist practice. I currently live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I see people in person and virtual and do about half of my time in therapy. And then the other half of my time is either spent in coaching or traveling around, keynoting, and helping organizations understand how to have integrative well-being, being inclusive of their diverse communities and social justice, and how that all weaves into mental health and the amount of time that we spend at work, and how they even offer health packages at work, speaking of influence in healthcare, and making sure that it has diverse options for the people that are available, much like what you have done with Color of Wellness, which is incredible. I also try to make it equitable and accessible. So I do things like podcasts, things on Instagram, all kinds of things. My husband is a musician. He writes music that's centered around mental health. So I really love giving people an opportunity to hear something that is encouraging and to see it represented by a Black man, which we often don't see a lot of, especially around mental health. So
Absolutely, especially around mental health.
yeah.
Yes. I totally agree. We are, wanting to focus more with the men and their health as well. Yeah, talked about that last week, but definitely is an area that can always use more support. So kudos to both you and your husband and all the work that you were doing in this space. So kudos to you. So your face is familiar. People probably seeing online, like you mentioned, you do a lot online. I wanted to just start off by just asking like your journey to this spot. How did you get here? What was it about mental health that drew you in, and how did you tap into that passion?
Yeah, I definitely think, honestly, even as a child, I was the kind of person that would look at you and go, "How are you?" And then you might say, "I'm fine." And I would go, "Really?" So I've always been very perceptive of people and what they're feeling and genuinely wanted to know what they're feeling. As time transitioned, I realized, I would say in college, that there was a lot of different dynamics going on with mental health and not a lot of options, and a lot of people struggled on their own without necessarily considering reaching out. Then, if you kind of take, I'll just speak for my family, the inherent message in my family was what happens in this house stays in this house, or push through, which meant ignore, right?
Mhm.
Being strong meant ignore what's happening, minimize it in your head, and keep going. But I am the youngest in my family. I have 8 siblings, or 7 siblings. I'm the youngest of 8. And
Mhm.
I was watching all of them go through different dynamics and find ways, some good, some not so good, to reach out. That's kind of like one pocket. Then along that same lines, my mother, who is really instrumental in probably my heart and my passion,
Okay.
battled cancer and was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer at the age of 45 when I was in college. So I'm also then watching her journey, watching how she was treated, information that wasn't accessible to her, or even without all the knowledge I have now, hearing people encourage her in one area, but then leave out information that I thought, well, why isn't anybody talking to her about what to eat if she's battling cancer? So she's battling cancer, going through chemo, and you're literally telling her to eat as much high fat food as she
Mhm.
would like, which I now know and just felt uneasy about, contraindicates what you want to do, because then you're keeping your body in a place where it can stay sick. So that was a turning point for me. And I just became an avid person to go, I'm going to create change. I'm going to research. I'm going to heal and work on my own self and start taking a look at what else is in my family that I
Mhm.
need to pay attention to. Because the other thing is, our families don't always share information. You don't really know, well, your grandmother had this and your grandfather had that, and that we can kind of break the cycle. So that set me on the path of going, I'm going to break the cycle in myself. If I get married later and have children, I'm going to break the cycle in them. I do have 2 children. And I'm going to be a face and a voice of influence, and not just, oh, I've researched, I've walked this. I
Mhm.
have walked this journey on my own in every way that I share. And to me, I just feel like that's a helpful way to let people know I'm not
Yeah.
asking you to do something that I don't do myself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's so powerful. I believe it backs you up. It gives you that power that you need to carry out the mission.
Uh-huh.
I struggled with that as well when I was decided to launch the color wellness. Like, well, are you the picture of wellness? How are you going to teach that? And through my prayer, I felt like God said, "Why not you? You
Yeah.
have walked this walk, and you struggle with wellness because of lack of education, especially when
Mhm.
I was younger. We never talked about health and wellness at the table. We were talking about soul food and da da da. And what was
Yeah.
the dessert for the meal?
Yeah.
So it made me see it in a different way, as opposed to
Mhm.
fighting myself. Like, utilize those struggles
Mhm.
and let it power you, so that someone else who comes along in the next generation, type you mentioned generations,
Yeah.
they hopefully will have a lighter journey than what I've had.
Yeah.
So I get
Yeah.
it.
And, one thing I feel like is important is for us to try to erase the picture we have of what is a picture of wellness, right? If we really think about the concept of wellness, it has been commercialized, it has been
Yes.
colonized, it is not inclusive of often of our bodies, of our experiences. So I'm actually working on a book right now that's
Hmm.
called Get Off the Scale and Heal, that
Hmm.
is focused on, yes, there may be things that we need to do to help support our body and health, but we're missing the point of healing our trauma, of healing our unmet needs, of really understanding our identity or our family patterns, and how that is a process. And when we focus on those areas, our body will naturally align to its restored state. But I think it's important for us not to allow media to give us our picture of wellness, because you cannot look at someone and tell the state of their true wellness. You only know what you think, and our perceptions are skewed.
That they are, and I completely agree with you. And people are very judgmental, but the reality is that they are, and the perceptions are there, and they remain. And that's the battle. I think that's the true battle,
Mhm.
is debunking that mindset.
Yeah. Well, we have to, because we need to give ourselves permission to go, I'm working, I'm healing. It's a process. For example, something that people don't know, if we're talking about influence in healthcare, if you live or lived in a family of origin where you experienced or grew up around a lot of trauma, it literally changes the way that your hormones and digestive tract and your brain interact and talk to each other, which means it would change your appetite. It would
Mm,
change your ability to be satisfied. So you're growing up in trauma, which we didn't recognize as trauma because it was happening to
we
everybody.
were in it, right?
We
Hmm.
were in it. Then add if you lived in a food desert or food was scarce and you were more focused on, I just need to fill my belly versus nourish my body. So I'm eating, this is what my family can give me. They're giving me things that help fill my belly, don't have a lot of nutrients. I'm constantly hungry. There's trauma, don't know what to do with it. It's internalized. It changes and shifts your ability to be full and to
Right.
feel balanced.
Hmm.
Several years of that. And most people are probably in their mid 20s before they really recognize, okay, this is not okay for me. I don't understand. Why can't I stop? So there's a neurobiological impact, which if that isn't healed, you can go on whatever diet you want to for 4 or 5 days, and you're going to constantly feel like you're restarting because there's some internal shifting that has to be done. And unfortunately, you're not going to get that story when you walk into your primary care physician.
At
They're
all.
going to say, lose weight and see you in 6 months.
Yeah.
And that's all the information you get. You feel horrible. But there's so much more. There's so much more to it.
Absolutely. Wow, that's just something else. Why I did like this, like mind blowing. I don't think we ever consider the depth, even to the cellular level of,
Yes.
that trauma does have. And I've heard that in relation to even things like racism. I don't know if you've heard that study, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
been studied. Yeah, so
Mhm.
we do carry that.
Yeah.
Um, Absolutely. So it makes sense that even these behaviors, which stay with us through from childhood,
Mhm.
that shorter period is still lingering until we get the healing that we need. So I get it.
Yeah.
I want to just show our comment. Hello to Mindy over on LinkedIn. Thank you for joining us. And let me just say that, hey, LinkedIn family, we are streaming on Facebook and we are streaming on YouTube. So hello to all of our family. But she says we have to drop the pretty definitions and let it be what it is at its rawest form for
Yeah.
each of us personally.
Yeah, I love that, because think about too the amount of harm that we can do to our bodies and to our mental health because we are working tirelessly to fit into someone else's definition of what health looks like. A lot of times, one of my specialties is disordered eating. Anything from emotional eating along the lines of people that may have an actual diagnosed eating disorder. And the number of people that I work with, that they have one idea of where their body needs to be in a number, but their body goes, in order for us to stay at that number, you will have to starve yourself for the rest of your life. That is not well, right? True wellness is going to encompass spiritually, physically, financially, socially, and emotionally, because we're an integrated being, and all of those areas will impact our appetite, what's accessible to us, how we feel about ourselves. You could be in a wonderful body, you're struggling financially, you're not well, you are anxious, you are overwhelmed, you're concerned about your future. But the other beautiful thing about that, just as Mindy is saying, if we expand that definition, it also allows us to see success outside of what we look like. So then we're influencing our health because we're viewing ourselves through the lens of gratitude and going, there's so many great things that are happening in my life. I will not reduce my worth to what I look like or what I perceive myself to look like when I look in the mirror, or the perceptions of media that constantly change, right? If you look at studies, every 5 to 10 years, what's considered beautiful or handsome or elite changes and shifts, and nobody can fit into that. And we weren't designed to.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
And thank you, Minnie, for the comment. Yeah.
great.
Beautiful thought. Thank you for challenging our belief system. You know, it really does start with the belief
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So I want to pivot a little bit because I've been wanting to ask this question
Uh-oh.
personally. Somebody. So, I mean, you know, generally, I think most of us are having this conversation, but the shift pre
Mhm,
pandemic versus post pandemic, and
mhm.
especially when it comes to our mental health, like just
Cool.
me as a non mental health professional, just
Yeah,
seems like there has been a massive change in the world.
yeah.
So, just generally,
Mhm.
how are you addressing or even practice your practice change? And what are
Yeah.
you noticing with our mental health?
So much. So pre-pandemic to post-pandemic doesn't look the same, right? Mental health was still a focus pre-pandemic. But what happened during the pandemic is everything stopped and we all had to slow down. And then everything that we were holding and carrying and not dealing with came to the surface. The first book that I wrote, Expired Mindsets, part of why I wrote that book was from the need during the pandemic, because we were turning away in mental health probably 10 to 15 calls a day of people desperate to receive support, because prior to the pandemic, we kept ourselves busy. We would push off things that we needed. We had other vices and activities that we could use to try and tell us we were okay. And then all of a sudden, all of that was gone. If you didn't get along with the person in your home, they were there every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But so many people said their biggest surprise was things came up for them that they thought they were past, and
Mm,
it really shocked them. So I often say our cracks were exposed. The cracks at the foundation of who we are were exposed, while also trying to determine, what do I really want for myself when it's time to come out of COVID? I'm not the same person that I used to be. And again, along that same lines of wellness, I don't operate the same way I did. I went into COVID and I thought, how did I do that? Like, I was up and carrying on that pace at the same time. Here's a part of me that feels better because I'm not going a million miles an hour. How do you keep that going? So I feel like we're still seeing some significant changes. People are more open. People are willing to be more raw. They're like, mask off, all of this other stuff doesn't matter. I want to feel better long term, but it's a much slower process than I feel like people are giving themselves credit for. For example, a lot of people who maybe never experienced or didn't realize they were experiencing anxiety noticed during and after the pandemic that there was a lot of anxiety. You also think about the social aspect of, you were home
yes.
and all you had was what was around you. And then you had to go back out and start reading cues again and interacting with people and traffic and all of these dynamics that we were out of practice doing. So that impacts us somatically. I think that's why a lot of people still really enjoy a hybrid work opportunity, because it allows them a little bit of connection, but then to kind of come home in safety. So mental health has tripled since the pandemic. We are also seeing, which is a good thing, that more organizations are doing more to bring in options for mental health into the places of work. And so things that I've done to try to support that is, I wanted to create the book because I was like, people need something. I can only see so many people a day. We're all on waiting lists, but here's a resource, that they can have and read, or doing the daily motivational text, just something small and simple so that people feel like they have support. But I'll say this, if there's anybody who's listening and you feel like you're still not the same, that there are some parts of you that you lost during the pandemic and you can't find that part of yourself, you don't have to, right? Really think about what would it be like to allow yourself to evolve and go, who am I now and what do I need? And to release yourself from feeling like you have to get back. Like we're always trying to get back to what
Yes.
we were instead of going, this is who I am, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Right
Yes. I don't know why, and I'm being personal, but and you just said something that like you heard me say yes,
now. Yeah,
because my therapist told me that she's like you keep because I don't know why is it a problem for us to keep like reverting back? I always thinking, well, I did this or I did that, and she's
yeah,
like, no, I want you to focus on your future self, and I'm like,
yeah,
no, but so it
yeah.
is a struggle, and I know I'm not alone with that, but it just when you said that I like saw myself saying
Like,
yes.
with me, yeah. No, I mean, there's a natural part
Yeah,
of
but
us
why
that
is that?
wants.
Maybe if I understood it, I'd stop doing that.
Well, there's a natural part of us that wants to go back to the last time that we felt good. You
Ah,
want to go back to the last time that you felt successful, that you
yes,
felt like you had it together, because it's
yeah,
uncomfortable to be in the present and know like, I don't know that I still have it together. Newsflash, you really didn't have it together as much as you thought then,
right.
but in your mind, it
Yeah.
feels better. So being able to be in the present is all about being mindful of hashtag seasons of change, right? We
All right, y'all. Y'all
all,
got the hashtag. Drop it in
that's
the
the
comments,
hashtag. Yeah.
please. Sorry to interrupt, but hashtag seasons of
Yeah,
change. If
for
you guys
sure.
can put that in the comments, we are going to live by that for the rest of this
Yeah,
year
yes.
and forever.
We
Sorry.
all go through, no, don't apologize. We all go through different seasons of change. And
Yeah.
if we can keep that as a concept, what that means is what's happening in the context of my life today, and what do I need, and how am I going to show up based on today? So I don't have to worry about what used to be. This is what I have right now.
Mhm.
And in the future, I'll get there, but I can't worry about that so much. All I have is right now. And
Yes.
in this season, what do I need in terms of community? What do I need in terms of support? What do I need in terms of rest?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
And giving permission for that.
giving permission and giving yourself permission,
Yeah.
especially for like again, I'm talking personally, but to rest. I feel like I feel like one good thing out of the pandemic is that I have seen a lot of people allowing themselves to rest. Like, okay, I do need a break. Just being like having that self awareness to take naps or
Mhm.
just step away or take some social media time off.
Yeah.
Um, so important to incorporate that. But thank you for that hashtag. I love it.
Yeah.
And it's just a very general reminder
Mhm.
to know that it's okay to
Mhm.
change and who you were back then. You're not the same. Like we should always be evolving,
Yeah.
always should be growing, and we'll get there. But right now, enjoy right where you are.
Yeah. And let's also add, as you recognize your season, you're going to have to teach other people how to treat you as you shift, because some of our desire to get back is that other people want us the way we used to be. And
Hmm.
I have this concept of I have new terms and conditions. So I'm going
Check
to
the
need you to
box.
read them, read the new agreement, and check the box and know that it's not personal. It doesn't have anything to do with you, but
Yes.
I'm holding myself to different terms and conditions. So that rest means I'm going to say no more, or I'm not going to volunteer for everything the way I used to. I'm going to keep some space so that I can
Absolutely.
figure out what I need.
Awesome. So good. So good. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
that. So yeah, thank you all for just stopping by today. We have a good 6 minutes left. Thank you, Shola, for the comment. She dropped her hashtag seasons of change over on LinkedIn. We are talking mental health today with Dr. Charryse. So please make sure you go visit her at drcharryse.com. Psychotherapist
Yes, ma'am.
and more than qualified to help us get our mental health together today. Yeah, and I heard you mention a couple of your books. Do you mind just sharing a little bit more about your books and
Sure.
what the resources out there
Mhm.
for our listeners to grab?
Yeah, so I have a book called Expired Mindsets, which really focuses on if you're an iceberg, above the water is what you show the world, and beneath the water is all the things that are still there and really navigating and pushing you towards who you are and who you want to become. The whole concept of expiring a mindset means what mentality worked well for me in one season that no longer works now, and how do I let that go and really give myself permission to shift into a higher place of potential, right? Um, and that is combined, not combined, but part of what I did maybe a year or so later, a couple of months later afterwards, was created a journal called Mindset Matters. Mindset Matters is a tool that is based on a 5-on-5 system of success that walks you through, well, how do I make these changes, right? This sounds great. I want to, what do I do on a daily basis? And it takes you through every day a system of living your life and creating habits like mindfulness and gratitude and eating to nourish versus numb. Very simple. You do all 5 steps, each 5 step in 5 minutes. And it's incredible, all based on neuroscience and research. It is the most effective way to move from thought to action. And then I have an ebook that's called Embrace 28 Days of Self-Love. And it's a simple ebook that has 28 quotes of really powerful language that talks about embracing and loving who you are.
Love it. Love it. I believe I saw that one on your website, so I'm definitely going to go grab it.
Mhm.
It's always, I don't think we have, can get enough of that, of course, always replenishing. I'm guilty of it, so I have to be very purposeful.
Mhm.
I went through burnout a couple of years ago while transitioning from, the coaching space, personal branding, me, shifting into this media brand where I wanted to make it about the community and helping community health be displayed through media, because I just didn't see nurses and healthcare doing that. But it was a good 18 months. So it took me a while. Shock. And that was in retrospect. I mean, going through it, I didn't know. I just kept saying, are you ready? No, I'm not ready. Are you ready? No, I'm not ready. Even my team was like, are you ready? I'm like, no, I'm
Like,
not ready.
no, yeah.
So, and then one day I came back and I said, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. And when I look back, I was like, gosh, that was 18 months of healing. So
Mhm.
now I'm very purposeful on the time to spend with myself and that self-love time. So
Mhm.
thank you for that resource.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes, 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 yes. So I have one more comment from Shola. She says, thank you, great topic, 100%.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shola, for stopping by. So what's next? That's my last question of the day is what's, next on the horizon for you, your brand, and
Yeah.
where do you see yourself going in the future?
Whew. I'll be honest, I never know where I'm going. I feel like it honestly finds me, and I love that path. I love that journey. Two things I can say I know what's happening. Maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I relaunched a podcast called Dear Dr. Charryse, where listeners will send in questions and I answer those questions and kind of give some tangible pieces of advice and general recommendations around them. And then at the end of August, I'm actually doing my first international retreat. And that is something, yep, I'm taking a group of women to Colombia. And that's something I would love to continue, maybe once or twice a year, taking women away for a healing retreat out of the country, all inclusive and just a beautiful moment of rest and healing. So those things are on the horizon, and I definitely want to do more of those.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that closed in case anyone's interested, or is that still available?
So it is still closed because it's the end of August and there's a lot of logistics and stuff.
Yeah.
But as soon as that one is over in September, I'll put out information for the next one. So definitely stay tuned.
That sounds good. I'm just pulling up your podcast link so that the listeners can go grab it. So while I'm pulling up this link and we'll wrap up, I just want to remind everyone of a few things with Color Wellness, and then we'll wrap up our show. Make sure if those who are interested in learning just a little bit about digital media, for those of you who have been following us, you know that we're training healthcare professionals with the skill set of digital media so they can do things like this and have their own podcast, or how to launch a magazine, how to monetize a newsletter. There's so much out here that we could be doing to share health and wellness with our communities. So tomorrow, just a brief plug, and I'll put the link up here. Be sure to join us. That's a free masterclass. It's just 1 hour tomorrow at noon, just to overview, just to share, because sometimes it takes a little bit of just sharing a little bit, expanding that knowledge so people understand what it truly is about. So I just wanted to share that. So here is her podcast link. You can find Dr. Charryse on podcast platforms,
Yeah.
and her link tree as well. And then I'm going to put our masterclass link. So with that, I'm going to let you take us out. Dr. Charryse, just pour into the people.
Yeah.
What parting words do you have for them?
Yeah, I would say first, thank you so much for taking your time. And thank you, Color of Wellness and Michelle, for this platform and making it accessible to everyone. One of the things that I want to leave you with that's just on my heart right now is you become what you believe. So speak into yourself, speak highly of to yourself in those moments that you feel overwhelmed. Remind yourself that those things are not true. Pause, rest, be, but you become what you believe, and I believe in your greatness.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing with us and pouring into us today as well. I know your time is just as valuable. Woo! So we're all gonna take a deep breath together because I know I can't be the only one feeling this way. Woosah! So I got what I needed today. I hope you all got what you needed as well. Be sure to connect with Dr. Charryse if you need, any additional resources or want to get in touch with her. Thank you all for your time today, for joining us for the Color Wellness Show. We'll see you all next Friday with a new guest. Those who are influencing healthcare, so we call it influence in healthcare. And yeah, thank you all for your time, and we'll see you all next Friday. Bye, Dr. Charryse. Thanks again.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.